talking about that in the first place is that some of this is very foreign to people who, you know, have not stayed up to date and current. But even though I started out complaining about students who maybe don't embrace some of this as much as I would like, you know, I have students also who have been out in the field for a while, who run the whole AIMsWeb system for a school. Mm-hmm. And that's what you're kind of seeing here, is that, you know, you may have never thought about a potential role as a special educator as being a data person who runs a whole assessment system for the entire school. But that's kind of how schools are starting to operate more. So if you learn this system, it's generalizable to other things, and it could really be, you know, a real asset as you're looking for jobs. Yep. So what you're seeing here is this is how you would manage an entire district with AIMsWeb, and we're not going to talk about that. This is the scoring, and okay, I'm just going to jump to the reports. These are all the different reports, right? So even though we're talking about, excuse me, talking about doing an intervention with one student, the capacity of AIMsWeb and the RTI model is that you would assess all kids in the school, right? So what you're seeing here is all the different options for how you can get data reports school-wide, not just for, you know, the kids in your school. And there's lots of benefits to doing that, but I'm not going to address now. Let's see. So I'm going to just give you a real quick overview of what all you can do with AIMsWeb. So these are all the different areas that you can assess. I'm going to give you a quick heads up here about how AIMsWeb works. If you look across the top, you see all these tabs. Right? If you look down the side, you see tabs. If you look over here, you see buttons and you see drop-down menus. If you look here, you see tabs. And you look here, you see toggles, right? So before you email me in a panic, look around. Because usually when people are stumped on AIMsWeb, they forgot that, you know, you have tabs down this side to change everything you're looking at. Or, you know, I'm on here and I don't see the spelling measure, you know, because you might be looking up here, over here, but there's tabs right all across here too. So there's so much within AIMsWeb, and it's actually, once you get the hang of it, it's not too big of a deal, but it's one of the real benefits. It's so comprehensive. If I was ever to run a private school, I would run the entire school's data system through AIMsWeb. I would do all my assessment with AIMsWeb. Okay, so AIMsWeb, they've changed the name of that, but teaching early literacy, testing early literacy, test of early literacy, that's what it is. So this is the AIMsWeb version of DIBELS, okay? And there are ongoing professional arguments about how we should assess early literacy, but what AIMsWeb assesses is letter naming fluency, letter sound fluency, I'm going to get stumped on one of these, phoneme segmentation fluency, and nonsense word fluency. So these are all measures pre-reading a narrative, okay? So these are all like more phonics based, sounding out words, knowing the letters, knowing the sounds of letters, etc. One that you don't hear too much about, unless you're in the early childhood world, is something called Get It, Got It, Go, which is actually, they seem to be moving slow because I would actually really like to use this for this new project I'm going to be doing. But it's focused on pre-kindergarten kids, so 3 to 5, I believe. Alliteration, rhyming, and phoneme, fluency of some sort. So that's for even younger kids. Here's one that not enough people are using. I had a doctoral student recently do a study about this, but it's Ames Web Test of Early Numeracy. So DIBELS has been around for about 15 years. Oral reading fluency has been around for about 30 years. Something that's new and exciting to me and has a lot of promise is called the Test of Early Numeracy. So it's the math version of DIBELS, or Ames Web Test of Early Literacy. What it covers is oral counting, number identification, quantity discrimination, and missing number. So if you're working with a young kindergarten or first grader, or maybe a second or third grader who's like really struggling in math, this may be a measure you would want to look at. I'm going to skip that. Reading, this is basically the one to pay most attention to is RCBM, which is Reading Curriculum-Based Measure, which is Reading Oral Reading Fluency. Okay, and then I've never done anything with this. It's actually, I believe, a combination of Reading CBM and Maze. Maze is the Ames Web version of what's called the closed procedure, and it's a measure of comprehension, but to be frank, it's not that great of one. It's never like really proven to be that good. But basically, you give kids a segment to read, and then you remove usually the 7th word, every 7th word, and then they get a choice of 3 words, and so they're reading, and then they fill in the word that's missing. It's not a horrible measure, but it's not that great either. Here's the Spanish oral reading fluency. And then you have math, ranging from really basic math to math computation to, I always forget, this is a new one, the MCAP, analysis and process, I believe. What this is, it's pretty cool, and we can look at these later. But this is more of a full-blown math test. It's a little bit of a curveball, fitting under the umbrella of curriculum-based measure, because it's 8 to 10 minutes long. So it's actually a longer test, but it's much more comprehensive than any other sort of curriculum-based measure. Many people would say it's not a curriculum-based measure. But still, there's a focus on having a brief assessment that's highly predictive of longer, more time-intensive assessments.